Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Masters in Fitness Business podcast, where you get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And today I have the biggest giant, one of the biggest giants in the fitness industry, coming straight at you from Atlanta, Georgia, Rick Mayo. He needs no introduction. The guy is, he's the Albert Einstein of fitness. I keep pumping his tires because he won't, so I'll do it for him.
Unbelievable.
So Rick, welcome to the show. I was hoping when I promoted this episode, I said in all things Freddie Mercury, but you don't have your Freddie Mercury stash going. So we'll have to.
I grow it through October, like my whole face, which is pretty pitiful. And I save it at the last minute. So it makes it look like I can do an overlap mustache, but it's like 30 days just to get a little shadow. So
okay. I got you.
Yeah, I'm not as manly as Freddie. So.
Well, some people will question his manliness, but never his pipes.
That's right.
So I had you on to talk about this Corona thing. And as you said so well, that you don't have all the answers, and nobody does, because no one in the world has faced a situation like this where we're basically sheltered in, businesses are shuttered. It's affecting, I don't know anybody who's not affected in this country.
Exactly.
And fitness business, especially, because we're dependent on people coming into the gym. So what do we do when we have to shut our gyms or people aren't coming into the gym? So that's what we're going to talk about today, and maybe talk about some solutions. So,
Sure.
And we were talking before we started recording, and kind of broke it down into three different sections. One is the business side, the back of the house. How do you prepare for that, and what actions do you take? And then front of the house, the client facing side. And then your brand. How do you control the narrative of your brand so that you come out of this better than you went in? So, Rick, let's go ahead and start on the business side, because I know that you guys petition on your Alloy for Women. You guys petitioned to stay open when they were closing gyms because you guys were a PT facility. You want to take the listeners through that?
Yeah, so we felt like, and I know we're going to get to should we or not later, right? And that's a whole other program. Like, what are the optics of staying open at this time? But as you know, things are changing day over day. So when this happened, I think it was a few days ago, so last week now. And it was gyms, restaurants, and I think this is how everybody starts, right? Gyms, restaurants, bars, that type of thing. And our model is personal training, and so we don't have a whole lot of people in there. At max, it's six clients, one coach. Now we might have a couple of coaches working, right? But at that women's center, we opened it as a concept a few years ago. It's really small, so it's just one coach with 6 people. And as you know, Jim, in this time, you have a lot of people that just are not showing up just because, right? Maybe they're at high risk and they're just choosing not to come in, which I understand. And so the numbers were down anyway. We were probably operating at about 60% capacity overall. And so we were able to speak to the city, because right now we're going city by city, and say, listen, we're not a typical health club facility. We're never, we are even well under the recommendation from the president of 10 people, much less the CDC recommendation of 50 people or less, right? Which was at the time, again, that's what we were hearing. And so they said, okay. So we were actually able to stay open in that facility. Now, a couple of days later, our other brick and mortar, the one where I'm sitting now, our mothership, was also bars, restaurants, gyms, right? And at that point, we did the same thing. So I went to the mayor and the administrator at the city and just said, look, precedence has been set in the other city where we're located. We'd like to stay open. Here's why. We're practicing social distancing. Everyone's using their own equipment for the entire workout. We're wiping it down so we're doing everything that we can, and we're keeping our numbers very low. So in a lot of ways, we're safer than a convenience store or grocery store or any other place, because we're actually controlling where people go and that they don't high five and that they don't get too close to each other. So in some ways, we're doing a better job than people would maybe do on their own if they went out into any of these sort of essential businesses, if you will. So that allowed us to stay open. And so we're open in both facilities right now. Again, this could change at any moment. You know, our entire city could go on quarantine lockdown. I think that's where you guys are, right? In St.
Yep.
Louis right now?
Yeah, they just ordered it starting today, effective today, Monday, the 23rd.
Yep. So at that point in time, obviously that would be beyond our control. And we would obviously close and go from there. But I think, you know, we were just fighting tooth and nail for the healthy clients that weren't necessarily high risk, that didn't have high risk people that they were in contact with, to choose on their own as adults whether or not they wanted to come in and work out. And if they did, we'd control that environment. We just wanted to provide that as long as possible. And we felt like the people that were adults and were making choices on their own health, you know, about their own health on their behalf, that we were providing a place for them to go that nobody else was providing. And so in some ways we were providing a service that was needed. You know, it was stress relief. It was like the one place, it was the one thing that they could go do right now. And
Right.
so we felt good about it, and we really feel good. Well, we're still open, so we feel good about it. We feel good about what's happening when they get here. And if we didn't, we wouldn't be open. No, that's all I can say. So that worked for us. Again, I don't know if it's going to work for you. It's worth a try. I think at this time, you know, you just need to focus on what you can control. And I know for me, just filling out or sending out a message or an email asking to stay open just made me feel like there's a little bit of fight left in this thing, and that I'm in control of it. Whether I am or not, it didn't matter. It just emotionally made me feel better because I was doing something actionable and not just freaking the heck out, you know, which is understandable to do that too, but I'd rather try to do something proactive.
Yeah, because all they can tell you is no. So my question is, how did you know where to go to contact those people? Like, what resources did you use to say, okay, this is the person I have to talk to petition to stay open, and how do I find their contact information and actually reach out to them?
Yeah, so facility number one, we got lucky. There was a client at the gym that's involved in the city, you know, with the city, and was able to, on our behalf, help facilitate that conversation, right? Now in the city that we're currently in, we simply went to the city website and emailed the top three people, the mayor themselves, the admin, and the next was like, here's the org chart. It's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and
Okay.
told the story of the other facility, you know, and asked that we could stay open as long as we adhere to the guidelines that we had said that we would. So there was really no magic to it. There's no direct person to get to. First time I've ever run the play. And to be honest, there's no science behind it at all. So I'd love to say, like, here's exactly what you need to do. But that wasn't the case. We had a local contact that made it easy. And then we used the precedents from that to lever for the second one. So yeah, that was about it for us.
Yeah, let's make something clear that anybody who tells you they have a laid out plan of attack
Right.
for this is lying to you. Because nobody has been in this situation before.
And like anybody, yeah, I mean, it's funny because there are folks, whether they're the guru types in our industry or any industry, that want to get out in front of this. And they're like, here's the way this is going to go down. It's not going to go more than 2 weeks. It's going to do this. I'm like, okay, well, that is amazing that you can know all of these things, because you are way smarter than anyone else I've met if you know all this. And I hope, if it's for the positive, I hope it's true. If it's negative, I don't want to hear that, you know, but I think you're right, Jim. I don't think anyone really knows. And so even the information that we're talking about today, I'm trying to keep it high level because it could sound ridiculously irrelevant tomorrow, right?
Yep.
So just keep that in mind, everyone. It's ever changing. And a lot of this is going to boil down to, we'll probably get to this, Jim, but like a good point to make, you know, good segue to make this, and I don't want to miss it while we're on this call, is that from a leadership standpoint, you need to make sure that your team or anybody that you're still involved with understands that it's ever changing. And so I know for me, whether it be people that have reached out to me to do podcasts, you know, and they'll say like, hey, where's this thing going? I'm like, how would I know that? Like, I don't know. Or whether it's my members or my team saying, hey, what's next? What are we going to do? It's really important that you're transparent and you're like, listen, we're going to put some lenses on and we're going to fight as hard as we can to keep our community engaged and healthy and our membership base here so I can keep you guys employed. And I'm going to do everything I can, but I don't have any answers for you right now. I just don't. And I think that's probably the most honest answer that you could give. And people really appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can lay out your plan of action, but you can't lay out how it's going to go and what the outcome is going to be for sure. So let's talk about, should you or should you not stay open? And what are the optics involved with that? Because I know for us, we closed last week, and it was a tough call for us. I won't lie, and it was a really tough call. But it got to the point where I got enough client feedback that I felt like it was doing our brand more harm than good to stay open. I think if we'd stayed open, people would have looked at us as part of the problem. And oh, Catalyst, they stayed open. They helped spread the coronavirus. They don't care, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. Like all of this bad PR. And so we felt like it was in our best. And there were some other circumstances too. It was kind of a perfect storm that led to us closing. But that's one of the biggest reasons why we chose to close, is that from a PR standpoint, it was doing us more harm than good. And this is going to end. You know, this is not the zombie apocalypse. This is not the Walking Dead documentary.
Right.
But so when we come out, we want to have our brand intact. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're on the other end of the spectrum, right? Because we're still open. And so I don't think anybody has the answer. I think you really have to be careful that you don't, as a leader, like it's not just your personal opinions, right? Because I mean, Jim, we know each other well, and in side conversations we've talked about, really tough upbringing. We both had like really tough dads that were like, suck it up. This is how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was great to have that. But of course, that then manifests itself in your business. So for me, unless we're literally, shooting people in the head in here like The Walking Dead, hey, we're open, right? And I know that's not the right lens. I'm not saying that's what you should do. So you really have to be careful with that. Or you might be someone who has had a history of health issues or something. And so that's your lens, right? So you panic too quickly. And I think, right now we're sitting in the camp of either zombie apocalypse or it's nothing more than the common cold. And as we all know, it's somewhere in between those two things, right? It's not time to full on panic, and you probably should take it more seriously than the common cold. And so we took the stance of really just asking our clients, right? So like just poll your clients. So we polled our clients on our private Facebook page, and we asked this same question to our customers. And we said this: listen, we don't want to be seen as part of the problem. We feel like, based on the type of training that we're doing and the way that we're going about it, that we're safe. If you don't feel this way, comment below and let us know. And we feel like everyone should be able to make their own choices around their own health, right? So we end up with this contingency of people that want to come in, that are appreciative of the steps that we're taking to keep people safe. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have people that don't want to come in. So surprisingly, we didn't get any feedback from people, claiming, social justice warriors or what have you, just saying, listen, man, you're doing a terrible disservice to the community. We didn't get that at all. We got, listen, I appreciate the fact that you guys are open. I'm not going to come in, but I think if people want to, that's their decision. And so we kind of put the onus on our customers, didn't encourage them to come in at all, in a way that said, hey, you need to get here. It was just more like, we're here if you feel comfortable with it. If you are healthy and you don't have and again, you're not exposing people that are at risk to this thing, then you can come in and we're going to be as safe as we possibly can when you're here. And again, that's just our personal decision. Is that the right decision? I don't really know. It felt good for us, and we got more positive feedback than we did negative. So maybe not what you were experiencing, Jim. We were experiencing the opposite, which is like, thank God you're the only thing open. It's the only thing I can look forward to. I love my family there, that type of thing. And then there was again, a percentage of our clientele that's like, well, I'm not coming in there, but I'm loving what you guys are doing. And we can talk about like what we are doing with virtual and that type of thing. So the feedback for us has been overwhelmingly positive. I can't speak to like maybe the optics of what someone else thinks that drives by and sees 4 cars out in front of the facility. I can't. I'm most concerned right now with our existing clientele, with preserving them, their health and fitness, preserving their revenue so that I can then keep my team, all those things I'm trying to keep intact while I can, because again, I'm probably on, days are probably numbered until we're full on lockdown here as well. But yeah, I mean, again, am I right? I don't know. That's just my lens on it. And we asked the people that we thought mattered to us most, which is our current clients, and everyone was fine with us staying open.
Yeah, I think at the beginning that you mentioned a couple of key points. And one is as a leader, and I think you have to provide some leadership, because like you said, my team kept asking me, "Are we going to stay open?" I said, "Yeah, we're going to stay open until they tell us we can't." Which was my mindset. It's like, no, we're not closing down. And then I started getting all of this feedback from my team who work with our clients every single day. They have more contact with the clients than I do, so they would know better than I would what the clients are saying. And they started giving me this feedback. My general manager, who I really respect and trust, and she's like, "Yeah, I think we should really start considering closing." So I didn't want to. I mean, it
Right.
was really hard, but it got to the point, and now we're on a citywide lockdown, so we have to close. So I think that's a good point. You have to be a leader, and you have to make that call based on your own situation. There's no one rubber stamp answer for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, again, anybody that pretends to know what everyone else is thinking and everybody knows is crazy. I'm probably getting positive feedback because, maybe the type of personality of our business is those are the type of people we attract. I don't know. It's hard to really say, right? I just know that in the 2 brick and mortars that we work with, we're getting positive feedback that we're giving the people that do want to come in, we're giving them a place to go. Are we being irresponsible? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, or I wouldn't be open. But time will tell. I certainly hope not. But I don't think preemptively closing was the right decision either. I don't think there is a right decision, honestly. So
Right.
we're doing the best we can to navigate it, just like you are and you guys are. And so far, it's worked out pretty good.
Yeah. And so open and close, and moving on to the next topic in that same category, though, is open or closed. We need to keep our membership engaged and paying. And so, but that's more on the client facing side. Well, it's kind of a little bit of both, but I want to focus on like expenses because revenue is going to be down. Because even if you're open, as many clients are going to be coming in, they're going to be asking to freeze their membership. They're going to be asking to cancel their membership, all kinds of things, especially if you're not offering services while they're at home, remote services. So what can you do to reduce your overhead during this time? Do you pay employees? Do you not pay employees? How do you handle all of that?
Yeah, man, that's a loaded question, right? Like we're paying. I mean, we've got good margins in our business. We're able to do that. I would say that it really depends. There are certainly health and fitness businesses out there that are on razor thin margins that can't go 2 weeks without revenue and still float a staff. So, furloughing your staff so that they can collect unemployment is not a bad idea. I know the unemployment is jammed up right now. Still the best option, honestly. And then really start being as proactive as you can, like get in the queue for this SBA relief loan if you can, which is rumored to maybe become a grant, right? If you spend the money on fitness related expenses. So that would be great. We don't know yet. We haven't had a line of credit in years because we haven't needed it because we keep a pretty good cash balance, but we applied for a line of credit and we'll do what we can to keep our staff as long as we can. Now, as far as expenses are concerned, we did reach out to our landlord and we've got a month free rent and we'll just either prorate that over the term of the lease, add it on to the end of the lease, however our landlord wants to do it. We'll do it that way, but they were cool with it. And most vendors, if you've probably seen this, Jim, as an owner, most vendors are, have sent something out and are providing some type of concessions right now based on what's going on, right? Whether it be, equipment vendors or financing or the bank or paying your mortgage late or whatever those things are, right? That you can normally get some type of concessions on your hard business expenses. And as you know, in fitness, especially in our model, in your model as well, Jim, where you're a coaching model, the big expense is the people.
Right.
And I just am going to do everything I can to hold on to my folks as long as I can. Because, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a business and all these other things. But it's so true. I think that's the thing as an entrepreneur that keeps me up at night is the people, right? The rest of it, it's like, I live well beneath my means. I don't care if I have a different car. None of that stuff matters. And at the end of the day, none of that matters anyway, regardless of the economy. And you know that. Yeah. But the people are what make it, right? And so we're going to try to hold on to them as long as we can. If not, I think you need to give them a chance to go and collect unemployment and go from there. And as you know, furloughing is simply like, hey, I can't pay you right now, but we'd love to have you back, right? It's like a layoff or anything else. If you are fat though, and you've got people on your team and it's kind of, it's harsh, but if they're low performers, shit, man, now's the time. You need to cut that. I mean, really, like, if you've ever had a time to get rid of that toxic employee, or that person who's kind of operating at a 4 out of 10, and you've pushed them, what better time than right now, right, is to get rid of that. Thankfully, we don't have anybody like that on our team, but if I did, those would be the first to go, right? First on my list. And I would probably cut them loose permanently. And what better reason, right, than right now? Not that you need one. But everybody else, I would just do what you can to maintain them as long as possible, because I think we all feel like when this thing swings back, it's going to swing back big. When people finally get a chance to get out of their homes, if your business has been able to survive, you're going to be in a good spot, right? It's going to right the market to a certain degree, and you're going to be in a good spot. Mm-hmm. And you're probably going to do better, 6 months after this thing is open or over. But you have to stay open to do that, right?
Right.
And so you need to maintain some level of staff if you can during this, so that you're not hiring, from scratch while trying to ramp up, this new business as things get back to normal.
Yeah, I agree with you on the upswing afterwards, because I think everybody is, on the couch watching Netflix, eating chips. And so they're going to be dying for some movement and some exercise and wanting to lose some weight, some of their coronavirus weight. But even more important than that is being honest with your staff. Like you were saying before, just be upfront and honest with you. Like, hey, I love to pay you, but I can't. So I'm going to let you know that, so that you can get a jump on this unemployment, so you can take care of your needs until we can right this ship. And I'd love to have you back. That's a lot better than saying, oh, I'm going to pay you, and then not being able to pay them. And then now they're behind the 8 ball on filing for unemployment. Or if you can pay them, because that creates such loyalty. People remember how you treat them during the bad times, and that creates such loyalty in your staff, whether they have to go on unemployment or you can pay them. Just be upfront and honest with them, so that they know you got their best interests in mind when you're talking to them. So I think that's a great way to go. And also what I did is I reached out to my landlord, and my proposal to him was, hey, why don't, because we are 2 years into a 5-year lease. I said, why don't we extend the lease by 2 years? And then you give me, I asked for 5 months free rent, the art of negotiation, right? What can he say? No. 5 months free rent. And if you want, then we can amortize that over the final 2 years of the lease. Just kind of defers it down the road. And he said, I can't do that, but what I can do is cut your rent in half for the next 3 months. And then we can revisit it then. And if it needs to continue to be half price, then we can do that until you can pay full rent. And so that was his first response. So I'm gonna hit him back and see if I can get him a little bit lower, because we're negotiation. That's the other thing, is that you have to realize is everything is a negotiation, because this is uncharted waters for everyone. So all you can do is ask, so that's what we did. I called my creditors. They suspended interest and payments for 3 months, so that reduce my expenses. I'm going to contact some of the subscription services and see if we can get some kind of abatement there. So what I'm trying to do is reduce my expenses as much as possible, so that I can keep the business open, so that I can pay my staff, and keep the business rolling, so we can be a part of that hockey stick that I think is going to happen when things open up. Do you have any insight or additional input on any of that stuff?
No, I agree. I think transparency is the key, right? In one of our meetings, obviously everyone has a different personality type, and we've got some folks that just get a little bit more nervous, and someone asks, like, hey, if we only have like 5 or 6 people in, because we do the 6 to 1, do we really need both coaches at the shift? Because we run 2 coaches per shift and a max of 12 people. And, the answer was like, well, yeah, because, we can talk about, if you want, Jim, next, what we are doing for people and how that's working. But I said, yeah, and, kind of tongue in cheek, it's like, you want to get paid, don't you? I mean, if I have to send someone home, right, and just run one coach, then great. But I wasn't even thinking about that. But it was my mistake to sit in a meeting and that's what everyone else is thinking. They're looking around. It's like there's very few clients coming in compared to normal. And they're like, oh no, they're not going to need all of us, right? And so your mind just starts rolling, right? And so it was probably a swing and a miss for me early on, not to say anything at all, just because I assumed everyone knew that we had some cash reserves, and we were good to go as far as we understood. But I had to actually spell that out for everyone and talk about all the other things that we're doing. And then also just say, like, I don't know, it depends on how long this thing goes. Like, we're all in it, right? Like, it hurts me just like it hurts you. So we're all in this thing. We hope it ends quick, but all we can do is be proactive and work to maintain as much of our current revenue as we have by servicing the crap out of our existing clients, right?
Right. So let's jump into that. Let's jump into the client facing side and keeping clients engaged, keeping them paying, keeping them with their membership. And I think a lot of that depends on how you're set up. I mean, I think the guys who are doing like session packages, they're in bad shape. But if you're
Agreed.
doing memberships, be it month to month or annual contracts, then you're a little bit in better shape, because most, even month to month, they have a 30-day cancellation.
Yep.
But so you're good for the short term, but you can't just sit back and collect dues and not give them anything. So what are some of the options? What are some of the options that you guys are taking advantage of?
Well, as you know, because you work with us, is we have an app. So we have an Alloy app, and the app is actually built for online training first and foremost. And our app partner is Trainerize, and we paid some development costs to have some in-club functions built, as you know, where you grab the iPad and you get 6 people in there and you walk out on the floor, and there's all these cool things that happen. But the app, in its essence, is built for virtual training. So there's all these amazing tools for accountability and sleep and what's your stress today, and all these metrics that can be tracked that get pushed back to the coach, right? That become really important right now. And so the way that our current training works live before we, had this pandemic, was that we do templated programming. People come in and then we get them with a process from the door to the service. And then how we apply it to them is the difference, right? Because we all kind of need the same type of movement. So it's just like how much, what load, what level, these type of things. Well, when you move into virtual training, it's interesting because in a lot of ways you're providing what could be perceived as a higher level of service, because now we're doing this, right? We're doing a Zoom call with people once a week, and we're talking about everything from nutrition, exercise, in some cases, Jim, it's as simple as getting on the phone and they're like in tears because they're stuck home with their kids, and maybe they're single mom and they're freaking out, or maybe it's someone that's retired and the spouse has passed away and they don't have anybody to talk to. And so it's a lot of what used to go down in one-on-one training, where you're sort of carrying this emotional relationship with someone as well. And it's been really interesting, and it's actually been really fulfilling to be able to fill that gap for some people, right? Almost in a counseling perspective, certainly not professionally, but just by default. But you're also able to do custom program design, pull in nutrition, and again, have them track all these other metrics. So if you see that someone's not getting enough sleep and they're rating their stress as really high that day, and that would then trigger for us an outreach to say, like, hey, I know you say your last 3 or 4 days your stress has been through the roof. What's going on? Can we help? Did you get you also skipped your workouts, by the way, that would really help your stress levels, right? So it's just sort of this almost life coach, health management type of role using this app, which is a really dynamic tool. Now, if you don't have the app, you can still do it, right? You can say, like, hey, I want you to keep a food log, and then you just keep on your Google Calendar or your phone reminders, like who you need to contact on which day, what that looks like, who's supposed to report into you, whatever that may be. It's the contact and the fact that the person on the other end of this call knows that someone is expecting them to do things, that's coaching them and holding expectations. And then you've got to do what you do in the brick and mortar, which is leave your crap before the call, get on this call and bring your A game every single time. It's no different than training clients. And so we've kept our full staff, and right now we have had only a few freezes and a couple of cancels, but the cancels were moving. So it really was kind of a cancel anyway. It just sped it up by like a month. And everyone else is at full rate right now. So we're doing this virtual training. We're still open. And so there's a few that are coming in and they're just business as usual. The ones that have chosen to stay home, we haven't changed their rates at all. But we've just gone to this online concept instead. Now, we'll say that if this thing continues on, so let's say we're 2 or 3 months in, worst case scenario or bad scenario, people probably aren't going to want to pay what they perceived as better service by going to a facility. So we have created a membership in our CRM on MindBody for virtual only, but the price threshold is still pretty decent. So we wouldn't see, if we could maintain those clients and just provide as much quality as possible through this virtual experience, then we should see very little churn rate if people appreciate it, right? I mean, we can do a good job with it. So we've got a membership already set up and waiting, and the anticipation would be that we get through the next month's billing and people are grumbling about the fact that they're paying more than they think they should because they're getting a lesser service. We have a drop rate that we would take them to and try to maintain that as long as possible. So that's our main strategy. Mm-hmm. And again, that could be done without all the fancy tools, you guys. You could do this just via Google Docs and a million other ways, right? Take a video of your workout. I mean, get creative with it, but think about driving other behaviors other than just exercise and trying to be more for them during this time than that. And then all the other things we're doing for engagement are the same things that I see everyone else doing. You know, we're doing Facebook Live workouts. We're doing them on our public page, not on our private page, because, you know, we're asking people to invite friends and hop on with their community, that type of thing. There's a million and one ways you can do this. You can create I've seen some folks creating podcasts, right, just for clientele and using maybe a ClickFunnels page just to host it so they can just pop them out quick, just audio only, nutrition tips, you know, quick things like that. So there's a million and one ways if you really lean in where you can engage your clients. I've been surprised that about 30% of the clubs that we've talked to haven't done anything. So imagine just closing your doors and doing zero communication with people. So I think if you are a good club, you're better than that, of course. And you should really dig in and start to engage your community in any way possible. So for us, it's virtual coaching. We're still open, but we're limping our way along with that. And any kind of community outreach. And then we're messaging consistently on our private Facebook page, things like I told you before, Jim, and via email to our list, which is like, hey, we don't want to be part of the problem. What are your thoughts? I mean, we're just trying to get in front of people. And it's interesting, as much as it's a tumultuous time, I almost feel like we've sort of circled the wagons a little bit, and our community is almost tighter now than it's ever been. I don't know if you've noticed that on your end. So it's working. Yes. It's working. And we haven't seen a lot of churn in revenue yet, which again passes its way through to my team. And so, and you talk about clear communications. It's like, that's what we talked about. We're going to have to hustle our butts off, because if we can keep this revenue, that means we can all keep our jobs, right? And everyone's like, okay, game on. And so they are going above and beyond, my team is, to engage our customers, it's been really nice to see. And they've come up with a lot of these ideas that I'm sharing right now. They didn't come from me, they came from my team.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all great points. And we've done a lot of that because we have the Alloy app, which is really slick. And the funny thing is that once we had to close our doors, the week before we were prepping for this, and we were getting everybody set up on the Alloy app. And once they got set up, they're like, oh man, this is a great app. Is this new? I'm like, no, we've had it for a long time. Just nobody ever took advantage of it. Nobody took the time.
I mean, it's our brand on the app. And unless someone needed vacation workouts, if they're coming to your gym 3 days a week, they just don't need the app, right?
Right.
But yeah, to be honest, like once we were like you, Jim, once we saw this coming, we had to dig in again, because Trainerize has so many great updates to our app, right? That we found all kinds of like stress and sleep and all these habit changes and all these little things that could ping the coach, that we dug in. It didn't take us long to learn all these things. And they're amazing tools for exactly what we're going through right now.
Yeah. So even if you don't have the Alloy app, you can use the Trainerize app to stay. You got it. But the bottom line is you got to do something to stay in front of your clients, keep them engaged, and keep the customer service high. So we're doing that. We're doing the Alloy apps. We're doing the live workouts. We even have put out a schedule for live workouts on our closed Facebook page. And I like the idea of putting them on the public Facebook page too, just to create.
You know how low the engagement is, Jim, on the public pages, right? Uh-huh. If you put your workouts there, all that, like, oh, that was really hard, or how many of these are that you're going to get from your customers is going to go down on your public page. So the engagement's going to be much higher, and then people in your community can see that, and it can be easily shared over to other people. Where if it's buried in your private page, it's good. And we were concerned when we took it to the public page that we might lose a little bit of the, like, hey, it's not just for us, but we really haven't seen that at all. It's like, hey guys, we're going to be doing these over here, right? Because we're trying to help our community as well, because it's just one of the things that we're doing. Right. And it's been well received, and it's driven the engagement up really high in a public forum where people can see it, right? And I think that's good for everyone because, like we said, this thing's not going to last forever. Who's going to be top of mind when people are ready to go back to the gym?
Yeah, well, I mean, that feeds into what we're going to talk about next is the brand, your brand, and controlling that narrative. But I like that. So my idea on that, and I'll run it past my GM because she's my right hand, and the reason I like her is that she tells me no, or she tells me that's a stupid idea. She doesn't just like
You need,
sign off on everything that I come up with, you know. And I need that. I think everybody does. But
I,
anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was saying I 100% agree. We all need that person for sure.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that we put our older Facebook Live videos on there, so we're not giving them the new stuff. Our clients get the new stuff, but we're still putting stuff out in the community and creating that goodwill. And the other thing, we're doing the Zoom. We're going to start doing the Zoom one-on-one consults, and in addition to the Facebook. And another thing we're doing is we created an affiliate link with Amazon for a suspension trainer and a jump rope, so that they can order, and then we're going to tell them that bring in the receipt once we open up back up, and we will reimburse you for that. Again, just creating goodwill. I think it's $25, but as long as they last. And then we can create a custom workout for you through the app. So it's about just keeping our clients engaged. And you're absolutely right about the community. There was a thread on one of the closed Facebook groups, and I want to say it had like 30 or 40 comments. And I got in on it late, and I was just overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by the response and how well it was received, and that the community is actually growing stronger as a result. Another thing we did was a live cooking / meal prep. We just kind of put the menu out ahead of time and what you needed to do it. And then we put on a live cooking class, because if you're stuck at home, what are you doing? You're eating. And we better show you something healthy that you can eat so that you can stay fit in addition to the online. So I think that's the key, is keeping everybody engaged. And then I like the idea of, depending on how long it goes, because we just had a meeting. I had a meeting with my general manager today, and we're on lockdown in St. Louis until the 22nd. So we're going to make an announcement that we're pushing our anticipated reopen date to the 29th of April. So we may have to push out that remote only membership. Do you do that proactively, or do you do that reactively once they come to you?
That's a great question. We haven't even reached that 1 month time yet, because we're not officially even closed.
Uh-huh.
So I think we'll be reactive at first, right? We've already used it as a drop sale for a few people that were like, I mean, let's face it, people don't love to exercise. So it's easy to find an excuse. What better excuse than a world pandemic or global pandemic to be like, I probably shouldn't be working out right now. I mean, we don't like to work out anyway, right? It's like, it's easy enough to come up with reasons why. A global pandemic's a pretty damn compelling reason. So we found that a lot of people were just like, I should probably cancel. And we were like, no, everybody's doing online training now. It's like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah. And if they balked and it was around the canceling conversation and said, hey, I'm going to cancel, it's like, all right, well, this is our ongoing price for it, which we're doing for $199, right? So it's like, all right, maybe they're paying $249 for 8 times a month in the club. It's like, all right, well, we're going to go to $199 and we'll do this. And to be honest, you guys, role play this with your team. That's a good deal. What we've been doing in our meetings is when someone says, hey, I need to freeze or I need to cancel, then we say, no one's freezing. We're just going to online training. And a lot of people go, oh, all right. Like, I didn't realize that was even an option. Kind of like you said, this app's really cool. When did you come up with this? It's like, well, we've had it forever, but no one's needed it till now. And so don't underestimate the fact that your clients have no idea about all the things that are available to them. And so for them to come to you and say, hey, I want to freeze, and you just to be like, okay, is a terrible idea. Say, no, like, don't freeze. Everyone is going to online training. We're going to virtually train you. And they'll go, and a lot of our people have been like, oh, how are you going to do that? We're like, we have an app. And they're like, what app? The one we schedule with? I'm like, nope, that's a scheduling app. This is totally different. And then you just walk them right through it, right? You're right there, standing here, download it, do this. I'm going to pump some workouts in there for you. You're going to be good to go. And it's the same feedback that you've had, Jim, which is, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. So I would say right now we're reactive. If we get to a point where this sort of tipping point of critical mass, where we're charging people and they're like, you know what, it's too much. I'm not coming to the gym anymore. And remember, as much as I say that there's this value added for virtual and we're almost more personal in the virtual setting, still the perception is that there's more value to a live workout. That's what they purchased, right?
Mm-hmm.
So be understanding of them if they come to you and they're like, it's not worth it. You're just giving me a few workouts to do on my own. They won't understand it until they get into it, what the value of it is. So a drop sale is not a bad idea. So reactive at first, and then once we reach a certain tipping point, we'll just pull the plug on it. And if it goes that long, we'll proactively change everyone's membership to that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Especially if we can't be open. Like when we're in your shoes, which is probably coming here in a day or two, then we'll go full virtual and we'll just flip everybody into that.
Yeah, good point. And the bottom line is, even if you don't have all these resources that you're talking about, just do something to keep your client. It could be phone calls, it could be daily texts, it could be daily emails, anything.
Yeah, it's just a platform, right? The app is. It's a slick platform, but it's like saying if you didn't have Facebook, you couldn't communicate with people. It's like there's a million ways to communicate. Text them, FaceTime them, whatever your best way to get a hold of them is. There's a million and one ways to leverage technology right now.
Yeah, and that's the way you come out on the other side of it as well. Because that's the thing that I'm trying to stay focused on, because the thing that I think is causing the most, in my opinion, in my judgment, the thing that's causing the most panic is that there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no like, okay, we're going to, there's a vaccine out. We're going to have everybody vaccinated by this date or whatever. There's just no light at the end of the tunnel. And you ask everybody, they're like, I don't know. They don't even know how this thing acts.
I can't remember the quote. I think it was Mark Twain, but he's like, the strongest human emotion is fear. And the greatest fear is fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And basically that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't the strongest emotion that we have is fear, because that probably keeps us alive biologically. And then the strongest fear we have is fear of the unknown. People are pretty freaking nervous right now. And so it's understandable when you look at it through that lens, right? Why people would feel that way.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I just try to keep my focus on the other side. And what do I have to do to take care of my team, to take care of my business, to take care of my brand, so that I come out on the other side better? And that's what guides each and every one of my decisions. Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way there's no other lens to put on this right now, because we all have access to the same information.
Yeah.
Right. We really do. We certainly don't suffer from a lack of it right now, but no one has the answers, and that's just a fact. So all you can do is be proactive as best as possible, be forward thinking. I like personally, just for my own sanity, to have something to work towards, where I feel like I have this positive momentum every day, whether it's doing something like this with you, Jim, or, just getting together with my team, or just anything I can do actionably that kind of makes me feel like I'm doing something that's in my control, because ultimately the overall situation is not at all, right, for any of us. Right. So I 100% agree. And I think it's just the best thing to do for your mental health as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't get bogged down. So let's talk about brand and controlling the narrative. What are some of the things that you can do to control the narrative with your current members and with the public at large?
Yeah, I think all the things we've talked about are your brand, right? So one thing that we did is we assumed that when things, were sort of blowing up, that most gyms, certainly if they were closing, would either stop altogether or drastically reduce their marketing spend, right? So what did we do? We turned up our marketing spend. We had enough margin to be able to do that. And we felt like, you know what? People may not buy things right now. As a matter of fact, you think, well, I'm going to market virtual and leads are really cheap right now. And that's true. We are getting a lot of leads, but people aren't really loosening their purse strings right now. I have a friend that's the CEO of a major online nutrition company. And we had a conversation over the weekend. I'm like, man, I bet you guys are crushing it. He's like, we're not, we're way down, because even though we're all online and we're the perfect vehicle for this time, people are nervous. They're not spending any money, right? Regardless. And so, while we're advertising virtual and, maybe at least for the day, we're still open, we're upping our marketing spend, and we're really looking at it long-term, per your question, Jim, as more of a brand proposition, right? Like, how are we staying in front of people with a positive message, even if we're spending money to boost posts that have to do with our free live workouts? It's like, just do everything you can within your budget and your power to keep your brand in front of people as the pillar in your community for health and fitness, right? That's all that you can do, because when the dust settles, there's probably not going to be as many gyms around as there were when this started. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And if there's not, you certainly want to be one of the ones that's top of mind when people want to get back to exercise and healthy eating and just a healthy lifestyle overall.
Gotcha. So when it comes to, let's talk about posts on social media. So what are some of the things that you should post during this time?
I think anything that's relevant to what people are going through, right? Some of our most, let's say, popular or well-received posts have been just organic, heartfelt posts, honestly, just thoughts. And some, not complaining or what have you, but maybe just stating the obvious. I'll give you an example, and it was an odd example. And at first it kind of struck me as something I didn't like, but it turned out to be good. So one of my coaches went on and posted something along the lines of like, hey, we work in a small business, and you know where I'm going, right? And like, we've worked hard to take care of you guys all these years. So like, don't cancel your memberships, and not just at our gym, but at any small business. And you've seen this, buy gift certificates, take care of this person. And for me, I don't like those messages as the owner. I feel like, like, it's not like the customers don't care, but I'm like, listen, this is business. Like, they've got their own bills to pay. Like, they probably feel like I do right now with their staff if they're running a company or whatever. So I'm just not going to bother them with that. But again, through the lens of like a coach, they don't have all that that BS rattling around their head. So they go on and they post this, not even on our private page, just on their own, right? Like, hey, take care of us, this and that. And it was really, really well received, and I was really surprised. It was really like tugged at my heartstrings, honestly, because some of the responses to the coach who's been here forever and is very popular were like, you can up my membership to 3 days a week. I need you guys to be there when this thing is over. And there was just some really interesting responses to that, which is funny because when I first read it, I was like, oh no, I didn't even like the post, Jim, because I was too embarrassed and didn't want people to think I was pushing this message through my coaches. And shame on me because it wasn't received that way at all, because that wasn't the case. And that was obvious to people, right? And so I would say that continue on with your normal, like, live workouts, nutrition tips, anything like that to keep your people engaged. Try to keep it lighthearted. Humor's a great way to deal with all this stuff. So if you've got any funny things around this that aren't off-putting, go there and just keep it real. I don't know how else to say it. That you are your brand, your people are your brand. Just post what's on your mind and your heart, as long as it's not too negative. Yeah. And I think it'll be well received. But you still have to do the essential fitness stuff, right? Which is, again, the live workouts, workout tips, nutrition tips, recipes. I mean, we have 2 years of at-home workouts on our blog right now that we're leveraging in different ways. We have 2 years of recipes. Everyone's stuck at home right now. Healthy recipes. Use those at home. As a matter of fact, we're teaming up with a marketing company in the fitness industry. We hope to have this out soon, where they're going to build a landing page, and it's going to be powered by them and us. And meaning we're providing the content, they're providing the landing page, and they're going to take it out to all these gyms that they market for and just create like their branded version of the landing page, powered by our content and this marketing company's sort of tools, and then run really cheap, like penny banner ads on mobile and stuff like that. Just again, to help them be top of mind in their communities, right? Mm-hmm. For like, hey, here's a bunch of free content right now, and just can upload tiny bits at a time. So it encourages people to keep going back to this landing page. And this marketing company, if they don't have control of your website, they've got control of this landing page. They can pixel it. And then you can chase those folks around when the dust clears, right? Now you've got a whole bunch of interested people that were consuming content that had your brand on it, during this time, and then you go and chase them down. So there's a lot of ways to be creative and proactive right now that will at least make you feel good, right? At least you're moving forward. So that's what I would say for branding, is just kind of any and all things to keep yourself in front of people. And depending on what your brand is, that can be manifested in different ways. So we're certainly going to do it, and we're going to even do it for the rest of the industry and try to help them as well.
Nice. I like that idea a lot. And I tell you, the one of the more popular posts that we posted, there's a local company here. Well, I think it's nationwide, Stanley Steamer. And so since we're closed, I brought them in to clean the club and clean the turf. And then they have the COVID-19 protocol, which is this antibacterial viral bomb, they call it. It kills everything. It's like the nuclear bomb for coronavirus.
Right.
So, and of course they're gouging me, because going back to the top of the conversation is everything's a negotiation. So I said, how much is that? And he said, how big is your club? And I said, 3,000 square feet.
$1 million.
He goes, $700. I said, no, it's not. It's not $700. And I kid you not, they called me back and they were like, okay, $400.
What?
Yeah. And so then I got them down to 350. So they're going to do it for 350. So,
so what you're saying is, when you call me to suspend your alloy payments, don't even just say yes. Don't try to come back at you, because you're like, listen, by the time this conversation's over, I'll be paying you.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm just negotiating. But so they came to steam clean the turf today. So I videoed that and posted that just to let the clients know, because it's not real unless it's on the internet. So I posted that on the socials for the club. And let me tell you, that post blew up. And I said, phase 2 is coming tomorrow with the coronavirus nuclear bomb. We're going to Hiroshima this motherfucker. And so that when you come back, when we open the doors, this club will be sanitized and spotless. Right. And it was well received. So it's just things like that.
But everyone else is going to be fine.
Yeah. So you can't, nobody can be in the building for like, I'm thinking it's going to be a giant like Lysol bomb that they're charging me $350 for, or maybe some couple of guys just going around with a can of Lysol spraying everything. But that'll be $350, please. But just let them know that we're keeping them front of mind, and we're doing everything that we can on our part to take care of them, make sure that they're safe, that this thing will end. And when they come back, they're going to have a good, clean club to come back to, in addition to like what you said, the heartfelt ones, the real ones, the authentic ones, and the relevant ones, instead of just your run of the mill, like, here's me doing 60 sit-ups and now look at my 6-pack abs, right. Things like that. So
we did one as a joke, because you've seen the whole C10, do 10 for push-ups, you see all those things. And I did like a C1, do 1 side plank on the couch, and we put that in our private page, and everyone's like, oh, I'm doing that. And they were posting pictures of them lying on the couch. It's just, that's one of our core values, right? It's humor, a little crazy. So it's like, all right, if we can't have some fun with it, then we probably shouldn't be doing it. And that's part of so that's our brand, right?
Right.
So as long as it's not off-putting and we're not making light of what's going on, it's like, all right, a little bit of humor can really break things up right now. So just, again, whatever your brand is, just go there, like you said, and engage your customers as often as possible, and by any means necessary.
Yeah. And assume nothing, because I forget who told me this, like, if you don't tell them their story, they'll make up their own story about you. So make sure, like, kind of like what you were saying in the staff meeting, assume nothing. You have to communicate everything, just to make sure that you're controlling the narrative. Otherwise, they'll make up a story, and it maybe the story you don't want.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Good point. Yep.
Yeah. So, Rick, thanks a lot. This has been great. I really appreciate it. I know you've been busy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, and this has been great. I probably will be reaching out to you. I say that all the time, but I'll probably be reaching out to you as this thing progresses, especially if we're closed for the month of April, which is just unimaginable to me. But I'll be reaching out to you. So, but again, thanks a lot for coming on. And just in case any of our listeners want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you or Alloy or any of those?
Just go to alloypersonaltraining.com and fill out a contact form if you want to talk, or, I'm all over social media. Reach out to me there. And listen, I'm really, nervous for the industry, but also excited at the same time. But it's done a lot for me, so I'm willing to help anyone at any time. So any place that you can find me, reach out. I'll do whatever I can to help you guys, I promise. So if you need something, even just an ear to talk to, reach out. I'll help you.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. Well, have a good rest of your day, and be safe.
All right, brother. You too, Jim.
Take care.